Thank you for joining us today and welcome back to WAMS Webinar Wednesdays. Kathleen Vitek, WAMS Director of Training, will be joining us and she will walk you through some helpful tips and tricks and applications that many of you use in your day-to-day. Today, we will be discussing Outlook email management. Now, for those unfamiliar or those of you just joining the series, I'll share a little bit about us. WAMS has been providing law firms and businesses with computer consulting and support services since 1974. We continue our reputation for quality and service today by installing and proactively maintaining computer systems, as well as providing technology solutions for hundreds of law firms and businesses. We keep our implementation agreements friendly and flexible to take advantage of opportunities that benefit both the client and WAMS. From start to finish, we care about your business and support our clients to be as successful as possible. So to help you to be more efficient managing your Outlook inbox, today Kathleen will cover creating a separate folder for your CC'd emails using Outlook rules, changing the time required to mark a message as read, making unread messages stand out using conditional formatting, creating a quick step to perform a task in Outlook with one click, and last but not least, rearranging your folders in Outlook. If you have any questions, please send them to info@wamsinc.com. That's info@wamsinc.com, and we will address them quickly. So let's go ahead and get started with creating a separate folder for your CC'd emails using Outlook rules.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm going to go ahead and have you make me the presenter, and I will show my screen. And I'm going to bring up the WAMS Outlook training mailbox with just some fun pretend emails in it, so we have something to take a look at today. And at the moment, I have a folder already created called CC email. I just created that folder like anybody would normally create. Right-click, create new folder, and I named it. You can call this anything you want, but the important thing is before you go to create this rule, you want to create a folder that already exists so that the rule that you create, which is going to move mail from your mailbox where you are CC'd, will move automatically. Now, before I do this, let's just kind of talk about why would you want to do this. So our mailboxes are full of mail every day, constantly, and depending on your role at your firm, you may just get CC'd on a lot of email because maybe you have a team of people who work under you, and anytime they send an email, they CC you so you know what's going on, but it might not always be the most high priority emails. So what some people will do as a way of cleaning up their inbox so they don't get overwhelmed during the day is they'll create a rule to move email where they are CC'd, or even just maybe be CC'd. You can do the same thing for moving email from certain people in your mailbox as well. But this example is just one to show you that this is a way of cleaning up and organizing your inbox so that it doesn't get cluttered with email that maybe isn't the highest priority for you. So we're going to start with just going ahead and creating a rule. I'm going to choose the rules menu here, or the rules drop down, and you have an option here, create rule or manage rules and alerts. When you choose create rule, you get a dialog box with some of the options that you might need when you go to create a rule in Outlook. You can always go to advanced options, and this is actually ultimately the dialog box that I'm going to walk you through. But I'm going to cancel that for a moment and cancel back out of here. And then I'm also going to choose rules, manage rules and alerts. And then from here, if you choose, it's already highlighted on new rule, and you choose OK, it's also going to take you to the dialog box to create a new rule. Let's do that again. Here we go, a new rule where you get all of the options that you might need when you want to create a rule. My favorite way to use this feature, though, is to go to Rules, Create Rule, and then Advanced Options. I find this Rules dialog box to be the most simple and user-friendly. So what we are looking for is to create a rule where you specify a name for this rule first. So we're going to go ahead and choose, let's see, actually we're going to scroll down first. We're going to go here to, let's see, where my name is in the CC box. This is also where you could choose if words had if your emails had a specific word in the body, or a specific word in the recipient's address. So lots of choices here, but we're going to say where my name is in the CC box. And then we're going to choose next. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to move it to a specified folder. And then we're going to choose next. And we can't save your rule yet because a value is missing. Click the underlined text. Okay, so we didn't tell it specified folder, so we're going to go ahead and choose that. So it tells you if you're making mistakes or missing something. Aha, so here's where I'm going to choose my specified folder. I told you I had already created a folder called CC email. And then I'm going to click on next. And so it's going to keep kind of just prompting you through options, like are there any exceptions? You know, if it's marked as high importance. So that's an option there you can add to your own rule. Then you can click next again. And then this is the point where we're going to finish up our rule. And it's already named it for me. I can change the name if I want to. And then it's defaulted to turn on this rule. But what I want you to notice is that you can run this rule now on email already in your inbox. Now, before you go ahead and do that, what you might want to do is create this rule and then do some testing before you run a new rule on your mailbox. You know, because you may not want it to make decisions and do things on existing email. But it is, you know, just a thought for you. I always, you know, want people to feel comfortable playing around with features, but then be cautious a little bit as well. So if I were to choose run this rule now on messages already in my inbox, then when I click on finish, anything that I ever get emailed from here on out where I am CC'd, and anything that's already in this mailbox, when I click on finish, it runs the rule. And then if I go over to my CC email, now remember this is a phony little email box, so there's not much in there, but there were 3 emails where I was CC'd, and they went into this folder automatically because I said run this on my mailbox. Okay, so that is how you create a rule. I'm going to turn it back over here to Ashley for a moment. Okay, so Ashley.
Thank you, Kathleen. So next up, we are going to discuss changing the time required to mark a message as read.
Okay, great. So now we're going to show my screen again here, and we'll go back over to the mailbox and take a quick look here at how we can change the time it takes to mark an email as read or unread. So why would you want to do this? Well, by default, as you're going through your mailbox, so let me make this one mark as unread, which, by the way, I just want you to know that I will use the mark as unread. I'll simply right-click on my emails and choose mark as unread. If I've read an email and I want to go back to it, it's just a really quick way of organizing yourself. You may kind of have glanced at an email, but you haven't really handled it. So I might just, again, go back, right-click, and choose mark as unread. But when I did that, the email up top here that I received from Prezi automatically changed to read. As soon as I click from email to email, Outlook by default changes your mail to read automatically. And when I say read, I don't mean the color red. We'll talk about that later on. I mean as in you have read this email, right? So, and there's also a button here you can just toggle quickly if you're not really into right-clicking. But again, you move away from an email that you've marked as read, and then it automatically shows you that you have read it. There's only a few number of seconds before it changes, and then it's not flagged maybe for you to go back and take a look at it. So I will go ahead and show you then that if you go into Outlooks, File, and Options, another place that a lot of users don't go to, they get intimidated. It's a dialog box with a lot of options. Maybe it's a dialog box that only maybe your IT helpers will go in, support people will go in and do things if they want to make changes. But it can't hurt you to go ahead and take a look, see what options might be useful to you. So we're going to go ahead and go to File, and then we're going to go to Options and Mail. And then from Mail, we're going to go to Reading Pane. And this is where you can come in here and you can tell it how long you want it to take before it changes to read when you select an item. So by default, it just simply says mark item as read when selection changes. And it's just a second or so. If you click on an email and you click away, it's going to change it to read. You have an option here where you can tell it how many seconds you want it to have before it changes that item and marks it as read. Or you can actually tell it not to mark an item as read at all unless you choose to do so. So if I go ahead and tell it don't mark item as read when selection changes, let's just notice what happens there. So I'll mark this item here read again, and then I've viewed it, it's showing up in my preview pane. When I look at another email, you can see the selection doesn't change. It still shows as if I haven't read it. So now if I want this email to display that I have already read this email, again, I have the option. I can right click and mark as read, or I can use the button here, read or unread. These are just personal preferences. They're options that you have available to you in Outlook. Certainly nothing that you have to use, but you can set it up for your own personal preferences. And if you choose an option and you don't like it, again, you don't have to be nervous or intimidated. You can just go back to File and Options, and then we're going to go to Mail, and we're going to go to Reading Pane, and we're just going to set it back to whatever it was before. So the default was mark item as read when selection changes. We'll click the OK, and now my mailbox is going to continue to behave like it did to begin with. So I've got this email from Ashley, I click to another one, and now you see it goes back to functioning as Outlook did from the beginning. So that's another way that you can help manage your mail, not have emails read automatically. And yeah, so that's something everyone should feel comfortable trying. So I'm going to go back here for a moment and make Ashley the presenter again. All right, Ashley, you're up.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. So next up, Kathleen will discuss making unread messages stand out using conditional formatting. So we'll go ahead and kick it back over to Kathleen.
Okay, great. All right, so now making messages stand out. A little different than just marking something as unread. Now, some of you may notice that my unread email is a little bit darker and a little bit larger and bolder than yours when you have an unread mail. Now, this is Outlook 2016. We're using Office 365. So what this means is whatever the newest and latest and greatest of Outlook right now, this is what you're seeing on my screen. And what I've heard from a lot of our users when they get upgraded to the newest version of Outlook is that emails that are unread are not standing out enough. They're not bolded enough compared to the older versions of Outlook. You'll probably notice if you go to Outlook 2016 or Office 2016 that Microsoft has changed the colors and made them kind of a little bit more muted. I have mine set to more colorful, but there's a kind of a more white and sort of washed out look to the application colors. And for many of us, you know, you stare at the screen all day and you really need your Outlook mailbox to stand out and make it easy for you to see things at a glance. And so as Microsoft has tried to streamline things, one of the things that I've noticed they've done over the years, and especially the newest version of Office, is they've just made the colors more muted. And I think that's harder, and I've got a lot of feedback from people, it's harder on people's eyes. So what you can actually do is use a feature in Outlook to change the boldness or the color of your emails that are unread or from specific people. So in fact, I'm going to move 3 emails here back into my inbox from Kevin. So Kevin is the general manager of WAMS. And when I receive emails from him, I may want to really flag the fact that I've gotten emails from him. So let's take a look at how we can do that. I'm going to go ahead and go to View and View Settings, and then Conditional Formatting. So in the conditional formatting, you can create your own. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to add here. I'm going to call it Kevin, because that will remind me these are going to be emails from Kevin. And then I'm going to choose my font. So I'm sure he'll be thrilled about this, but let's go ahead and change the font color from black to purple. And then I'll say bold. And maybe I even want it to be bigger or big. Okay, so I click the OK. And now I'm going to set my condition. So my condition is when I have, let's see, if I want an email then from Kevin. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Kevin. We're going to pick him and from. And there's lots of conditions, but this is kind of the most simple and straightforward. And since we have limited time today, this is just a good example. So then when I click the OK and the OK again and OK one more time, now you'll notice that all email from Kevin is purple and bolded. So that's how I've set it up for a specific person when I receive email from them. But you can do this simply for your unread email. And you don't have to use purple and be kind of fun or silly about it. Just take a look at your inbox the way it is right now. And if you scroll through and you notice that your inbox contains unread email that is not really standing out, you can just simply create a condition for that. So we'll go back and we'll just take a quick look at doing that. View Settings, Conditional Email. Unread messages is already going to be in your list. You do not have to create one. All you need to do is choose unread messages, and then you can come in here to the font and you can choose whatever font you want, bold, italic, bigger, color, anything that you want. You can choose a funny font if you like. Doesn't matter here. We're just going to pick something just for fun, and then click the OK and the OK again and OK. And now any email that is unread has that font and darker. So, I probably wouldn't want to do that funny cursive looking font, but this is just to prove a point to you that you can take some time to make your Outlook really work for you. Again, don't be intimidated with playing with these items. You can always go back and you can change things around. If I want to undo that condition that I created for Kevin, I can choose just the Kevin condition, click delete, and then OK. And when I click the OK again, you'll notice that it goes back to the way it was before. And the same with my conditional formatting for my unread email. If I don't like the font or the colors that I've chosen, I go to View and View Settings and Conditional Formatting. And then here's my unread messages. And I can go back and just make a change to the font and use something, much more normal. Calibri is the font that's used for most of the Microsoft email and Microsoft Word. So that's kind of a standard font. And click the OK and the OK again and OK. And now we're kind of back to the way we were before. So if I mark this email as unread, it's back to just kind of bold with a little blue line on the left. But this is a really nice way to help organize your mailbox again, as you scroll through or you walk away from your email and you come back and you've gotten 50 emails where you were gone, having the emails from certain people stand out using whatever font and font color you might like is a way to help you organize your mailbox. All right, so let's take it back over again now to Ashley. All right, Ashley.
Thank you, Kathleen. All right, so next up, Kathleen will discuss creating a quick step to perform a task in Outlook with one click.
All right, so quick step, another feature that people tend to not even know or have ever used or seen demonstrated. So let me pop back over again here and show you my screen. And the funny thing about quick steps is, I think it was after Outlook 2010, anytime you launch Outlook, right in the middle of your Outlook window is quick steps. And hardly anybody knows about it or uses it because you get used to using Outlook exactly the way you're used to. And it's just another option that doesn't really mean anything. And it's another feature, kind of like rules, kind of like the conditional formatting that I showed you today, that someone would have to show you unless you get really experimental and start playing around with Outlook to see, oh, what does this do? So let me give you an example of 2 quick steps that I've created already and then show you how they can be created. So here's a quick step that I've titled New Hire Training. And when I click it, already created, I just click it once. What happens is I get an Outlook calendar invitation already created, set to be sent to Kevin, Ashley, Kay, and Matt. The subject that I've titled it is New Hire First Day Schedule, Main Conference Room, and then I have some text in the body of the email. It says our new hire, and then I would put in the name of the new hire person. We'll start on whatever this date is, and then I would change my start time and my end time, and then underneath you can see the schedule for the day. Now this is just completely make-believe, but probably many of you on this call are in charge of handling what happens to somebody on their first day. And you may send the same email which has a variation, like, of course, for example, the new hire's name and their start time and maybe some other items, but you're typing the same thing over and over again. And yes, of course, you can go back to a prior calendar appointment or a prior email and copy and paste whatever you might have typed in before, or of course you can type it all in from scratch. But if you find yourself creating and setting up the same calendar appointments or the same emails over and over again, you can create a quick step, which is kind of like a template, and then pull it up and make your modifications and then click send or do whatever you need to do, and you're good to go. So let's just take a look at the other email or the other quick step that I created, and then I'll show you how to go about doing it. So what this is a quick step that I've created with a single click. And when I highlight an email in my mailbox and I choose the one that I said I've called forward and save to iManage. So just to tell you why I've created this and what this means. A lot of you have document management systems. A lot of attorneys especially get overwhelmed with email. They want email that they receive to be saved in the firm's document management system, but they don't really have the time to do that. So they will forward email to an assistant or maybe somebody whose job it is specifically to save email into the document management system. And what a lot of them will do is then they'll forward the email manually, and then they'll put in the name of the person, and then they'll type in whatever they want to say to this person. But what you have now is an email that is forwarded. It's not the actual record of the actual email. So the quick step that I created says forward this email as an attachment. So I choose forward and save to iManage because I've already created it in a single click, and it takes the email that I have highlighted. It puts in the language that I've already typed and the person who I want to email this to. And then I only have to put in the client number and the matter number, and then choose send. So it's just another idea of things that I've come across when I've worked with people that really takes a lot of time. Attorneys in particular who are trying to get emails saved to a firm document management system, and this is a way of potentially speeding that up. So how do you create a quick step? Well, just like with the rules, I showed you that my favorite way to go ahead and create a rule is to hit the drop down arrow and then go to create rule and advanced options. Well, the same is true with quick steps. There's a couple of ways to create them. You can click this little arrow, this pop out here, which brings up the quick step, manage quick steps, and then you can create new and click OK and go from there. But I actually like to create a quick step by going to this little drop down arrow above the arrow where it says manage quick steps. When you click that, it brings you up a little bit larger menu, and then you can choose either manage quick steps or new quick step. So if I choose new quick step and custom, then I get a dialog box where I find it to be the easiest to go through all the options that may be available to you. So let me just show you that one more time. I think that the easiest way to go about creating this quick step is to hit the drop down arrow, choose new quick step, and then custom. So here's where you're going to name it. So I would then type in new hire training, and that's the name that I wanted to call it, new hire training. Then I'm going to choose an action. So what I'm going to do is I want to create a new meeting, and that's on my actions list. So I'm going to scroll down, and here we go. Here's new meeting. And then I'm going to put in who that meeting is to. So I would go through and I would pick my names. I'll just pick Ashley for right now, but you saw in my example that my new meeting was going to go to 4 different people. And then here, this show options. This is where you get to really put something together that can be a true time saver. So we're going to show options. And then this is where I was able to type in the subject of my new meeting. So it's going to be new hire first day schedule. And then the location, main conference room. And then the text. So remember when I was showing you my quick step and the text had the list of, well, first of all, I put in, the name of the person who was being hired, what date they were being hired, and then a list of what their schedule for the day would be. So this is a test. We'll just make it simple like that. And I click the OK, actually, and let me call this I'll call this Kathleen's, so I don't have quick step called the same things, new hire. Okay, then I click finish, and that's it. Now I have a quick step. So here it is. I click my Kathleen's new hire, just as simple as that. I created with one click the calendar invitation that's going to go to Ashley, what the subject, the location. I can edit my start and end time because that's going to be a variation each and every time. And there you go. And so if you want to do a quick step for creating a new email that you send out to somebody all the time, again, new quick step, custom, and then you're going to name your quick step, and then you're going to hit the drop down arrow and you're going to choose an action. So you can see why using this particular method of creating a quick step is very user friendly, because you get a drop down menu with all the options. And if you just look through this, something might trigger you that thinks, oh yes, you know what, if I could just do that with one click instead of it having to take 10, it will be really great. So that's how you create a quick step. Everyone has their own way of wanting to handle their mailbox. Many things you could probably think of beyond what I've demonstrated for you today when you just look through the options and see what's available to you. So that today is how you create a quick step to make things happen much more quickly in your mailbox. So we're going to cancel out of here. And I'm going to turn this back over to Ashley here one more time. Okay, Ashley.
Thank you, Kathleen. So last but not least, Kathleen is going to show you rearranging your folders in Outlook.
Okay. All right, and actually she doesn't know this because I have just one or two other little bonus things that I'm going to add as our final notes for today. So not
Oh, you
only
had
am
some
I
tricks
going to
up
show
your
you,
sleeve.
excuse me?
Oh, I said you had some tricks up your sleeve.
I did. I had a little trick up my sleeve just to show you here one last extra feature after I show you how to create or how to move your folders around. Now, if you are using Outlook 2013 or higher, you should be able to do this. For those of you on Outlook 2010, this is not an option, but it's coming. And what you're actually able to do is you're able to move your folders around in Outlook in any order you wish. So in the past, we've never been able to move our folders around. I know some people will basically create a new folder, and then as a way of tricking it, so I'm going to create a new folder here, and they might put the number 1 or an asterisk in front of, let's see, we'll call this one WAMS webinar. Okay, so because I put in an asterisk, it's going to sort it alphabetically to the top of the list. But let's go ahead and delete that one. And we're going to create a new folder now. And we'll call it WAMS webinar. Okay, so it did what it looks like Outlook has always done. It sorts your subfolders alphabetically. But this is something that Ashley and I are working on monthly together. And right about a week or so before we're going to do our webinar, we have maybe a lot of emails going back and forth to each other. I might have links or shortcuts to the webinar or the presentation, the Prezi presentation that she's using. And so all of a sudden the WAMS webinar folder becomes important for me. Or if I'm an attorney or a secretary or somebody working on a case that suddenly becomes very active and very busy, it would be great if you could move your folders around so that the ones that you're actively really engaged with can be put at the top. And now you can. All you need to do is drag those folders and you can move your folders around in any order that you wish. So I've just moved my WAMS webinar folder to the top because right now that's really important to me. But maybe once I'm done with the WAMS webinar for this month, I don't need it at the top because something else that I'm going to be working on is more important. So I can drag this down and put it down at the bottom. And this is truly a feature that I use. We have many clients that I work with at WAMS, and when I have an active project going on, I will move the folders for my active clients that I'm doing a project with to the top of the menu. And that way, when I want to move email and just drag email over or see whatever I've placed in that folder very quickly, it's there. And I'm sure, like many of you, I have tons of folders. This, again, is our sample training mailbox. So I only have these 4 demo folders. But in reality, I'm sure most of you have tons of subfolders. And scrolling through your subfolder list is, is time consuming. So just knowing that you can simply reorder these now, the only thing I want to caution you about is just be a little bit careful. Just notice I was doing this slowly. I don't want to drop it on top of an existing folder because that will make it a subfolder. So oops, I just did that. I just made my WAMS webinar a subfolder of my CC email, which I didn't mean. Not a big deal. I just need to drag it out of there and see the black line underneath. And yep, there we go. Now I've placed it back in to the folder list in the order that I want it. So our final and little bonus suggestion is a feature that I also like to use. And I've showed you a lot of changing colors and highlighting things or making things bold today. And I want to point out to you also that I have an email in my mailbox that is the color red, as opposed to earlier when I was talking about red and unread. The color is red in my mailbox. The reason why this email is the color red is that I set a flag for follow-up. So you can flag emails in your mailbox to remind you to follow up on them, just like you get a calendar appointment. So if I were to want to flag this email from Kevin for follow-up, what I can do is I can right-click on the email and I'll have flag for follow-up options here. I can hover over the flag here and right-click on it, and that gives me the options for flag for follow-up. I can go up top here to the follow-up button, wherever and however you want to do this. And then one of these little known features is that you can add a reminder. So when you choose an email in your mailbox and you choose add a reminder, you can then set a date and a time. So if I set a time for, let's say, 11 a.m. today, and then OK, it flags the email with a little bell. But what will happen at 11 a.m. is I'll get a pop-up just as if it, looking similar to a calendar reminder that's reminding me that this is an email that I want to follow up on. And then after a couple of minutes, it's not an instantaneous thing. And then sometimes I think, why is my email not changing to the color red? So don't panic. But after a few minutes, or if you exit your Outlook email, your mailbox, and you come back in, you'll notice that the email where your reminder time has passed, it's expired, that email now shows that it's flagged for follow-up, but it also automatically changes to the color red. So that's what I've done here with the Outlook email from me, this one from Kathleen, just to show you that when the time passes. So this is something you don't even have to think about. You just go ahead and choose your flag for follow-up. You choose reminder. You set a date and time. The most important thing, of course, is that you get the pop-up to remind you. And then, of course, later on, as you're scrolling through your mailbox, you'll also have a flag that will show you, oh, that email is overdue, the reminder passed. And then notice that you have the option to clear the flag. So once I handle this, I don't want it to be red, the color red in my mailbox anymore. So I can go to follow-up and I can just clear the flag or mark complete. And if I clear the flag, now it's back to a regular email in my mailbox. So for today then, those are our Outlook management tips that I have prepared for you. So finally now I'm going to turn this back over to Ashley for the end of our presentation. Okay, Ashley.
Thank you, Kathleen. So once again, if you have any questions about the tips discussed today, please email info@wamsinc.com and we will be happy to assist. If this was helpful, but you'd like to dive a little deeper, or maybe you need some education and training on other applications, WAMS can help. Kathleen provides trainings both remotely or in-house. It can be a group session or one-on-one. We offer total customization to your needs, and we can cover general software, legal software, custom macro packages, Microsoft Office, document management systems, as well as security training. And you can also email info@wamsinc.com to learn more. Now, if any of you are curious about what else WAMS can do to make your IT solution the best it can be, we offer managed services, cloud services, projects and consulting, security auditing and implementation, disaster recovery, and of course, training. We can be reached at 800-421-7151, and you can contact us through wamsinc.com as well. Thank you again for joining us today. Next up, we will discuss Outlook productivity tips, and that will be September 26th at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you everyone for joining us today.